Hi everyone, Lauren here. So today I wanted to share my birth story with you. Our daughter was born 3.5 weeks early. I actually went into the doctor for my 36-week appointment because it's been 3 weeks now, and I was like 36 weeks in one day, and it was like exciting because we got to see the baby in the ultrasound and see like where she was positioned and kind of like see maybe like a prediction of when she'd be born, hopefully. But when we were there getting the ultrasound, the doctor noticed that the amniotic fluid was really low. Usually they want to find about like 10 centimeters worth of amniotic fluid in the measurements that they're taking, but there was only about 5 centimeters. And the baby was breech. Her head was like right up under my rib cage area, and her butt was down low. I could definitely feel a foot on my left side. So since she was breech and there was not very much fluid, they wouldn't be able to turn her into position to actually be able to have a vaginal birth. And with the amniotic fluid being so low, it's kind of a red flag, and we need to kind of move forward quickly to potentially get the baby out. So earlier on in my pregnancy, I had a lot of tests done like we all do, and one came back, my PAP A protein came back a little bit lower than where it should be, and that means that like the placenta at a certain point could potentially kind of stop working properly, and then they take precautionary measures to make sure the baby is safe. So at the 36-week appointment, knowing that I could potentially have that problem, the amniotic fluid was low, so the problem came to fruition and we were dealing with it. So that next day, Thursday, they had me go into this fetal healthcare center. On Thursday, they had us go into the fetal health center. I can't remember what it's called. I'm like, but that's where like we've had all of our ultrasounds, and they've done a lot of really good measurements there. So they wanted them to get like a more accurate reading of where the amniotic fluid was at and how big the baby was. So we went in and they found about 5 to 6 centimeters worth of amniotic fluid. So pretty close to what my doctor found the previous day. And they noticed that the baby was measuring about 6 pounds, which was pretty good. So they had me go back on the monitors. I was on the monitor at my doctor's office before, and the baby was fine. So I was on the monitors again after that ultrasound to check the heartbeat and see if I was having any contractions or anything. So everything was fine again, but they wanted me to go into my doctor again the next morning, so Friday morning, just to double check again, because they said that we would be having the baby latest by the following Tuesday, which would have been October 6th. So we knew that that was like the latest date that it would be, and that it could be earlier. So on Friday morning, we went into my doctor's office. We weren't really prepared for anything. I did my hair that morning, and I put a little makeup on because I was like, you know what, I'm gonna feel better, because I've been upset like the last few days, like worrying about what's going on, and that I have to deliver early, and that I would be having a C-section instead of being able to deliver vaginally, which I would have loved to do, obviously. So I was a little upset about that, so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna put some makeup on, I'm gonna like try to look like a little bit normal today. And we went in, and she was finding even less amniotic fluid than they were the previous days. So she was like, okay, I'm gonna put you on the monitors for a couple minutes and see how the baby's doing. Baby was fine, but she's like, okay, get your stuff and go to the hospital. So we were having our baby that day, so that was October 2nd. And I had eaten breakfast that morning, so I did have to wait 8 hours before the surgery. So we had a little time. We were able to go home and get our stuff that we needed. Jeremy wasn't even packed or ready to go or anything at all. So we got ready, went straight over to the hospital, probably got there around 12, and the surgery was scheduled for about 4 or 5 p.m. So they had me there getting prepped. It was very strange being in the hospital. Honestly, I've never been in the hospital before except to like visit other people when they've had babies or anything like that. So it was definitely different being there, and I was like in my little hospital gown. Jeremy was there like frantically emailing and letting people know, and I was sending text messages out to all my friends just like letting them know that the baby's going to be born. So we were in the hospital getting prepped and ready, and I was getting my IV in, and Jeremy could notice that I was like uncomfortable. I hated it. Like it didn't feel good, and they were taking tons of blood to test like whatever they needed to test. Plus we were donating the cord blood, so they needed to take like extra vials of blood there to do a bunch of testing for the cord blood as well. So there's a lot going on. Oh, I hear a little grunting over there. So there's a lot going on, and we're just trying to like relax and kind of like get ourselves prepared for having a baby like at 4 o'clock. Okay, so Jeremy came over to like kind of hold my hand while I was getting that taken, just to distract me a little bit, and he started feeling kind of icky, and his face turned a little bit white, so he went to go sit down, and he actually ended up like passing out on the couch, and the nurse and I were in the room, it was just us, and freaking out because we had no idea that was about to happen, and we felt so bad. I was like, oh my god, you need to help him, what's going on? Like he just like, I think like everything was just so overwhelming, and like he was dealing with so much like work stuff at the same time of like trying to like figure out what's going on, that we're gonna have a baby, and like there's all this anxiety. So we ended up having to call a couple other people in just to make sure that he was okay. They tried to send him down to the ER just to get checked out, but he seemed to like recover quickly. They gave him some juice and tried to get him to eat a little bit before all of this happened, because they were afraid that they didn't want him to like pass out in the delivery room either, in the operating room. So we made sure that he was all good. I was all good with the IV and everything. And then like 4 o'clock rolled around, and they walked us over to the operating room. And they took me in first, and they did, because they didn't have Jeremy come in until I was like fully prepped and ready. And it was definitely a strange experience. Like you walk into this room and it's like all white and sterile, and there's all these different people in there, and it's a very strange experience. So with me, like they don't do an epidural with these planned C-sections. They do what they call a spinal. So it's like 1 injection of medicine, and you're numb from like your chest down for like 3 to 5 hours. So they had me sit there, do that, and like I was so nervous that my blood pressure was like through the roof. So they had to kind of like calm me down a little bit, and they finally were able to do the spinal, which was such a strange feeling when you can start feeling your like lower half going numb. And since I was completely numb too, I had to have a catheter, which that was an awkward experience in itself. So I could kind of like see and feel and like hear everyone prepping me, and that's like, it's always an interesting experience, like going from, I don't know, being fully clothed all the time and someone maybe only seeing you in a bathing suit, to like having 10 people around like you, like in your naked self, like being completely helpless. So that was something that you kind of have to get used to, but go with it, because that's what you just have to do. So once I was fully prepped, they brought Jeremy in and had him sit down with me near my head, just to make sure that we didn't have any incidents. So they had me all ready to go, and I couldn't really feel anything when they were like starting, but I could hear what was going on, and Jeremy was reading me some like news and stuff just to keep me preoccupied, and the medicine was like making me really shaky. So I was trying to like really calm down and like listen to him and enjoy the moment. But like when they kind of cut you open, I could hear him be like, "Oh, there's the butt," because she was butt down. So then you can start feeling like kind of like tugging and like movement, and it was the strangest feeling in the entire world. And I remember like grabbing Jeremy's arm so tight because it was so awkward and like, oh, it's such a weird feeling. Someone's like pressing down on your belly and someone's like pulling the baby out. It was very, very weird. So that was happening, and of course like we were worried since she was being born so early, like 3.5 weeks early, at 36 weeks and I guess 3 days. They were a little bit worried about her lungs, so they had a baby nurse right there with her just to make sure that she was all good and breathing well. So they got her out and she did start crying and she was breathing just fine. So like we were very lucky and so happy that like her lungs were they seemed fully developed and she was breathing normally, which was great. And like, so of course, like the first thing that I was wondering when she was out and on the table is if she was breathing, and she was doing great. And what's funny is like since she was breached, like her legs, I've been calling them kind of like crazy legs, because they kind of go straight out, or like not like a normal baby that's in like their normal position would. Normally they're kind of like scrunched up, but she was a little bit more spread out, which was cute. So yeah, then they kind of like finished me up and gave me the baby, and we went over to recovery just to make sure that we were both doing well and feeling good. And I mean, I felt like the recovery process moved along quite quickly. I was getting the feeling back in my legs fairly quickly, which is good. I didn't want to like feel helpless for too long. So by the time we were in recovery, my mom actually had arrived. So we called her that morning and she flew down from Seattle to meet us there. She couldn't be in the operating room. Obviously, they'd only allow one other person in there. So she made it like just when we were like finishing up in the operating room and moving over to recovery. So she only had to wait a little while, maybe like 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and then she could come in and see us. So that was so nice having her make it like right on time. But it was definitely like an interesting experience having a C-section and like going through this whole thing, and it's like you're like expecting to have at least like 3 more weeks of being pregnant and having a baby that quickly. So she will be 3 weeks old this Friday, and she's doing really well, growing a lot. When we brought her home, she was only 4 pounds 13 ounces, so she had lost a little bit too much weight in the beginning, so we were trying to really work with her on the breastfeeding stuff. Late preterm babies have a little bit of trouble learning how to breastfeed and latch on, so it's a longer learning process for them, but she's been doing really well and definitely gaining some weight. She's starting to fit into the newborn clothes now instead of just like little onesies. So yeah, overall I'm glad that we had that experience. I did hear them say that she had a short cord, so if we were able to go full term and I was trying to push, like we may have run into a problem with that too. So I feel very fortunate that we were able to like get her out safely, and she was super healthy, and we're very happy about that. So happy to have her home. I can't believe it's already been 3 weeks. Trying to get into the sleep cycle thing. It's very strange to only sleep in like 2-hour increments, 1 to 2 hours. So we do sleep in a little bit in the morning when Jeremy leaves, which is nice. So yeah, that is our quick birth story. I can put some pictures at the very end of the video of the C-section if anybody is curious as to what that kind of looked like of her coming out. And yeah, hope you enjoyed. Leave me comments down below, like if you have any questions or thoughts or other experiences to share. I'm always very curious. I love hearing other people's birth stories as well. So even though, I think everyone's is a little bit more dramatic than they expect it to be, I definitely expected to have in my head I had this picture perfect way of everything kind of happening, and nothing ever really happens like that. So very fortunate and happy to have the experience we did. And I think that's it. Anyway, I'll grab her after her nap too and show her off here in a second as well. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time. Bye. This is little Michaela James. She's 3.5 weeks old now. There you go. Say hi. Hi. She's probably just over 6 pounds now. We're very tired today, if you can't tell. We had a little nap in the morning, and then we were up all afternoon. And then finally took a nap for a couple hours and just woke up. A couple little gas bubble smiles there. So you'll probably see plenty more of her. So I just wanted to show you and share our birth story with you. So that's it. Bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. So sleepy.